You don't need a degree to be a software engineer. The new Star Wars movies are trash, bro. You don't need to be good at math. You don't have to like math either. Okay, bro. The Mandalorian was decent. Basic, but decent. My name is the My name's Emron. I'm a FANG software engineer, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to start coding. Don't worry about trying to understand any of the code in this video. The whole goal of this video is just to show you how fast and easy it is to start coding, and how much you can do with just a little bit of code. So let's jump right in. Okay, so open up your web browser, head over to repl.it, repl.it. We're going to click on Start Coding, and choose Python. It's going to set up our environment right now. So REPL is just a service that will allow you to use one of their virtual machines, and it'll get it all set up with everything you need to run whatever code you want to run. So in our case, we chose Python for the language. It's going to set up a little mini computer for us with everything already installed and configured, and we can just start coding right away. Cool, looks like our environment's set up. Let's just make a few changes here. Let's change the theme to dark, because we're not a bunch of light themed psychopaths. And let's just test out that the environment is working. So let's type in print, open close parenthesis, open close quotes, and just type in whatever you want. I'm going to type in OMFG I can code. And then just click run. And just like that, we have our environment set up. We had to install nothing on our computer, no configuration. We utilize REPL, and we're all set up to run our code. Let's go ahead and delete all this code. And we are going to click on this package button, and we're going to install something into this environment. It's called Spotify. Click that, and then hit this add package button. So as a software engineer, you usually don't want to reinvent the wheel for everything. So it's very common for software engineers to use other people's code, code developed by people, other teams, other companies, and you would use this code to help build whatever you're trying to build, right? And it saves you a lot of time and effort. So I'm just going to paste in our to-do list here that I created. So we have this Spotify to-do list. We're going to do 5 different things. We're going to look up my favorite band. We're going to follow my favorite band, play a song, adjust the volume, and then pause the current song. Okay, so I went ahead and pasted the first part of this code. Let's just go through it really quick. Again, don't worry about understanding the syntax. Once you learn the language, it'll make much more sense. I'm going to go over it at a very high level. So I talked about how we are going to be depending on some code that was written by some other people. So now that we have it installed, we can import that code and just start using it. So that's what this first line here is. Import Spotify. That's just the name of the kind of like chunk of code that we're going to use. And then we have just a something to basically hold that code, and we'll basically just reference that code at a later point. So this is a variable, just going to store the code, and don't worry too much about this stuff. We're basically just accessing different parts of this package's code. So the code that someone else wrote has a bunch of different stuff, and we're just accessing different parts of it. So all this code here just sets up the whole Spotify connection. They also call it a client. So a client is like your web browser, could be your phone, talking to some like cloud service. So you're going to see that in order to get everything set up, you're going to need a few different things. A client ID, client secret, which by the way, you typically don't want to share this. I'm only sharing it because this video is pre-recorded, so I'm just going to delete it anyways. So client ID, client secret, redirect URI, and a scope. Don't worry too much about that. What we'll do first is we're going to go and we're going to get these 2 values. Okay, so head over to developer.spotify.com. Once we're here, go to dashboard. And if you're not logged in already, go ahead and log in with your Spotify account, and you'll see a page like this. Click create an app. Give it an app name. It can be whatever you want. We'll keep it same as what we've been doing, and put whatever you want for description. Then just blindly accept these terms like we always do. Cool, so we have now a client ID. Let's copy that, paste that in. The client secret you can get here by clicking show client secret. Again, don't share this. Like I said, once I'm done with this video, I'm just gonna reset or delete this anyways, so it doesn't really matter. And then we are going to hit edit settings, and under redirect URIs, we're gonna type in http example.com. This can be whatever you want. You can do google.com, doesn't really matter. So click add, then click save. Cool. So just copy the rest of this. It should be exactly the same. Only difference between what I have here and what you have is just going to be the client ID and the client secret. So let's work on this first step here. We're going to look at my favorite band on Spotify. So I'm going to paste in some code here. So like I said, don't worry too much about the syntax. I'll just briefly explain. We have another variable here called search results. You can name it anything you want. I named it search results because it makes sense. And it's just going to store, obviously, some search results from Spotify. So again, we're going to access some code that we installed, spotify.search. And the way I knew this really existed is by visiting the documentation. So if you head over to spotify.readthedocs.io, this is the documentation for that package we installed, the Spotify package. So all the code that we're going to use in our application, we're just going to go here and just read about it, see what we can do. And you can read about, for example, we are doing a search. So let's find that. So right here we have search, and it says that this chunk of code is going to search for whatever item. And it tells you what you need to provide this code in order for the search to go through. So if you look back at our code, we're going to search for a band called Thornhill, and the type of the search is going to be artist. I think this can be like a track, album, stuff like that, but in this case it's an artist. We have some error here. I am importing some other code called pprint, and it's just another built-in code in Python you can bring into your code to use. And all it does is it will print whatever you want to print out in the console over here, but in like a nice pretty way. Let's import pprint. Cool. So let's go ahead and run this. Cool. So the first time you set this up, it's going to ask you to basically give permission. So click on the link that shows up here. It's just saying that your application, you're agreeing that you're going to access your Spotify account data, view your activity, take actions in Spotify on your behalf. So control Spotify player, play songs, change the volume, change the track, stuff like that. So go ahead and agree. And then we're going to copy the URL that is provided here. So the whole thing, copy the entire thing, and bring it back into here. And just paste it into the console here, right here. Hit enter. Cool, so we have a bunch of stuff that just gets printed out. Let's go to the top here, and we can see that a bunch of artists got returned. So this looks really intimidating. I promise it's not. All the apps you use get all this data in this exact format called JSON, and they'll just basically pick the data out of here and then show a nice pretty interface like buttons and scroll things. So we can look through this and just kind of pull the raw data. So we can see that we have a genre here for one of the search results. So Australian metalcore, sounds like this is right. So Thornhill, cool. Now let's take care of this next step here. We want to follow my favorite band. So for example, if we were to go to Spotify's website and find the band we want to follow, there's a follow button here, and we want to be able to click that button, but we want to do it with our code instead. So let's go back over. I'm going to paste in some new code. Again, don't worry too much about the syntax. I'll just briefly kind of go over it. But we're going to create a new variable that's going to hold the ID for the artist. Now the ID is going to be found in this search result, and we're going to basically kind of parse through, get rid of all the garbage, and just get what we want, which is just this ID right here. Now you can also see that ID on the website. So if you go to find the band page, in the URL, you'll see the ID up here. So same thing. So we're getting that through code. And then once we have the artist ID, we're going to basically call another part of the Spotify code. And again, the way I figured this out was I went through the documentation and I was like, okay, how do I follow an artist? And there's a section here that says, hey, this piece of code, if you run it, it'll follow whatever artist you want. And all you need to give that is just the ID. So it's as simple as that. So if we go ahead and call this piece of code and just give it the artist ID that we extracted from this search, we run that and head over to Spotify, refresh, and cool, we're following. So let's get to the fun part. So we're going to actually play a song with our code. So I'll paste in some more code here. And the cool thing about Spotify is that you can actually check and see what devices are active. So if you have like a phone, computer, and those devices are playing music from your Spotify account, you can get details about that. So if we were to run that section of code, I'm going to disable some of the older code so it cleans out the output. If we run that, we can see that Spotify sees one device. So it's a computer, my computer, and it's a Google Chrome web browser or web player. It shows like the volume percentage and it's not active right now. So to make things easier, I will actually play this on a smart speaker. So I'll use Google Cast and just cast this to just a speaker next to me so you guys can hear it. Okay, so it looks like it's connected. Let's run this again just so you can see the difference. So now you see a second device. So you see that there is a, it's called TV stand is what I named the speaker. It is a cast audio, has a volume, so totally different device I showed up. Now to play a song, it's just another 2 lines of code. So the song I want to play is this one right here. So what I did is I hit these 3 dots, hit the copy song link, and I got the ID of the song. So just like the artist ID, album ID, there's an ID for every song as well. And I create a new variable called song ID, and that's just going to store this information. Spotify has a very specific way of like referencing a song or something, album. You have to just say Spotify :track :ID. And this you'll find on Spotify's developer website. I didn't create this, I'm just following their guidelines. So I created this, and now I'm going to access another part of the Spotify code that we installed at the beginning. And the chunk of code I want to use is called start playback. And start playback will basically start playing a track on your Spotify account. And we need to just give it the ID of the song we want to play. So if we run that, can't really hear right now, but I can hear it faintly on my speaker. What we'll do is we will manually just run some more code. We'll do Spotify .volume. Volume is just another chunk of code we're accessing, and we want to set this to maybe 50. So now you can probably hear it. So let's turn it back down now. So now let's go ahead and try to pause the song. So I'll just continue here in the console. So I will do Spotify dot, I think it's pause playback. That's it. So in less than 10 minutes, we wrote some code and we were able to control our Spotify account and Spotify web player. This is just scratching the surface. There's so much more you can do, so I highly encourage you, go learn a programming language like Python if you want. I have a video up here you can check out that goes into more details about different programming languages and some of the best ones I recommend. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you know when the next video comes up. If you want to follow me on social media, there should be links down in the description below. Besides that, just keep on dancing